get mine. Your fire, your one desire. Yes, I know it's too late, but I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a party. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanted you to say I want it that way. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a party. Tell me why it ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanted you to say I want it. I want it that way.
Hello.
I see we got the motor jorts on.
Not the
Motor
jorts.
jort summer.
Not the jorts. Oh, Lord, save us all.
Not the jorts.
I hope no one's wearing jorts. Hello, everyone. Panda was here
Wow.
first. I know we always
What's your
discuss
problem with jorts?
so much. And like chakas or chacos, whatever people fucking call them. I got beef with that too. But they're a useful shoe. I can't get too mad.
My mom was telling me a story when we went to get our hair done about how my stepdad just kicks his shoes off like wherever, and she was walking and tripped over it, and she was like, and it was his Crocs. If I break my hip because of his Crocs, you're never gonna hear the end of it.
These Crocs are just all over the place. Ash just hates comfort. No, I love Crocs. I love Birkenstocks. Big fan. Shorts are crossing a line in a gray area that I don't want to be a part of. Don't include
Jay-Z jukes.
the Jay-Z jukes. So funny. Hello, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are in the United
day.
States and the world. Good day. Hello. Good 24 hours to you. Oh, I'm hydrated already. We got it.
Hydrate.
Panda asked if I have any questions, and Elizabeth, I'd like to just tell you very quickly. I've been searching for a new job. For folks who don't know, I have a full-time job on top of this stuff. Just fun fact. Just Elizabeth also has a full-time job on top of this stuff. So, and I'm looking for a new job. Recruiter reached out to me, all fine and dandy, calls me today, and I just want everyone to know I have like 11 to 12 years of like communication 9 to 5 experience, which isn't like I'm near vice president levels, but like not there yet. So it's like director is probably my next step, is what I'm kind of looking for to get that pay bump, or like owning something, and then like a vice president role, etc. Though I'm not girl bossing up the corporate ladder. That is not up for me. Like I don't need a vice president role. Anyway, I've been around the block a couple times in corporate America. I've been through a lot of interviews, and I have a 2-page resume is how much experience I have. I can't do it 1 page anymore. And this guy is just asking these questions, which I appreciate because he wants to make sure I'm prepped. But they're very like, they're like, you have any? He's like, do you have any questions? I was like, no, I'm all set. And he's like, did you do research on the company? I was like, well, yeah, I'm not a fucking dumbass. I didn't say that. I was professional because he's a recruiter, and I'm not mad. He needs to make sure that he looks good too.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, who are you dealing with that you have to ask these questions? Of like, did you Google the company you're interviewing for? Like, yeah, dude.
No,
Is someone not
never
doing
heard of
that? Is someone not doing that you've talked to? This is crazy. And he's like, do you have any? And then he like keeps asking if I have any questions. Like, no, I feel pretty good. He's like, you got a marathon interview on Thursday. I'm interviewing 2 people. I'm getting interviewed by 2 people. And I was like, dude, when I was interviewing for Capital One, it was a full day experience. It was a full day of theoreticals and questions and writing samples and stuff. Like, this is a piece of cake. I mean, I will do my due diligence. I'm not going to like walk in there like all lackadaisical, and I will wear smart professional clothing. Like, the way he's prepping me for this, I was like, have you talked, who's hurt you?
That's so funny.
I need all of
Did
you
you
to get your
know-
shit together on your job
Did you know
interviews.
that I also worked for Capital One?
No, I did not know that.
I did. I used to contribute to their autos section, and they paid really well, and then they stopped paying really well, so I stopped doing it.
That's so funny. I just do corporate comms. That would have been fun. We should have worked together.
We should have. Maybe we did, and I didn't even know.
You mean you weren't fresh out of high school doing your first job interview? No. Ash is part of the system. Dog, I need health insurance. Of course I'm part of the system. Get out of here.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with health insurance. Nothing wrong with keeping the family healthy.
Mr. Recruiter, if you're watching, welcome to the show. Yeah, I got no beef against you. You're doing your job. I'm just wondering who hurt you.
Yeah.
To
I
ask
mean,
me these questions.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think people are as prepared as me and you are when we do things. I think there's a good chance that these people probably did not Google the company that they wanted to go work for. It's like I just knowing what I know about people, I don't have much hope.
I interviewed for a different company, and the HR lady was very, very nice and very open. She was like, "Yeah, I was just letting you know we've had a couple other interviews, but like one guy was late and didn't tell us that he was late. He showed up like strolled in 20 minutes late, and he bitched about traffic. And then I was like, why didn't you just leave your house earlier and look it up?" So he was already doing poorly, and she goes, "Some other guy," and then she goes, "The other guy, I don't really like him." And I was like, "All right."
New goal, do not be the person who gets shit talked by HR after you do your interview.
I was just like, what is going on? Also, why is everyone being so honest with me? Please stop. I just want to interview for your company so I make more monies in this world that we live in. It's crazy, dude. There's a small chance Ash has seen photos of my house because of a hurricane. Yeah, I used to work as a government consultant in Washington, D.C. because that's what everyone fucking did in Washington, D.C. So yeah, I worked for FEMA. I work for FEMA, Department of Labor, and the FAA. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. One, the government's run by 21-year-olds, fresh out of college. Two, I don't know how it's still standing. I generally don't. Knowing what I know working in the federal government, I was like, wow. We're really just fucking YOLOing this.
Yeah. Anytime I get an inside scoop on anything, I'm like, we're still, like, our required services, our police forces, our hospitals, they're operating like this. Ugh.
In this economy?
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah, let's dive into some motorsport stuff. Sorry, let me just make sure everyone said, I got to say hello to everyone. Everyone good. Who here? Rand did the hydrate. I hydrated. Celestial, thank you for that follow. Welcome on in, everyone. Ray says, I like the hair, Elizabeth. Damn straight you do.
Thanks. I got it done with my mom the other day.
I once applied for a marketing position. I talked with a recruiter. They set up the interview, and when I arrived, they tried to interview me for a forklift driver position.
Are you forklift certified? You got a license?
They're like, we need people on this fucking forklift. I don't care who it is. Just put us in there.
I have this dream of like driving heavy machinery. Like I want to start with forklifts and I want to work my way up to like construction equipment.
You still haven't answered the question, Ash. Where's the cat? Oh, yeah, I mentioned this to Elizabeth. So, Chad, Concrete, I don't know if he's in here, but he mentioned that his coworker found a cat under her stairs or her barn or something. And I was like, hello. A little kitten, a little guy. They currently have someone interested, so I'm waiting for them to make their decision, and they'll let me know by the end of the week. But we might have a new mascot. We might not. It's fine. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. It would be definitely really cool, but we don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Crossed.
Fingers crossed. Manifest a kitten.
Elizabeth driving one of those giant mining machines.
I'm not kidding. Like I want to progress up those ranks so bad. They have those like theme parks. Have you heard of these? They have these theme parks where you can go and like pretend to drive heavy machinery. I want to do it for real. Like I want to drive a steamroller. Like I don't know. I want to do it so bad. I want to drive farm equipment. I don't care. Let me at them. I want to drive everything.
Want to drive everything. Same, Elizabeth. Same. Stuart says it's easy to get forklift certified here. It takes like 3 days. Am I going to be at the Daytona for 400? No. Dude, it's expensive to fly to things and then rent hotels. I will not.
That's a lot of money.
I will not be at Daytona. I will be probably at the Charlotte Roval because I can sleep here in my house and not travel. But
that was always my favorite thing with the U.S. Grand Prix when I was in college because I could just have all my friends come because I was going to college in Austin. Just have them stay in my apartment. All of us save a shitload of money. All of us can go to the racetrack for 6 days because we don't got to worry about how much it costs to stay somewhere. And now I live just far enough away that I do need a hotel during that weekend, and it sucks because it's all so expensive.
It's all so pricey. But everyone, welcome to the Elizabeth and Ash Show, your motorsport podcast, where we talk about all things motorsports. Should we start with some rapid fire news?
Yeah, we have news that Daniel Suarez is out at Trackhouse for 2026, so he will end this season with the team. They're expected to sign Connor Zilic, but it's not confirmed that that is happening just yet. Suarez says that the team hasn't listened to him for the past few months. There's no chemistry anymore, and that it is like being in a relationship, but just living together because you bought the house together. Not great. He was fighting for his drive this year, and it's just it's not been good. So not a huge surprise, but still, oof.
I would like to say Suarez's metaphor is a lot better than whatever Corey LaJoy was trying to
Yeah.
do
Yeah,
a month ago.
Suarez's is like that makes sense to people. It's not elaborate, simple, it's chill. Corey LaJoy's elaborate influencer. I don't know what he was doing. That's messed up.
He said something about like a TikTok star or whatnot, and
Yeah.
all this other shenanigans. I just like couldn't handle it. I had no idea what was going on there.
It was too specific. It was too specific.
Too specific, but poor Suarez. Do we know if he's looking at any other teams or any other teams looking at him?
I believe he is looking. I don't know any specifically at this moment. I think he would continue to want to look for something and stay in the sport. I don't know what will be on offer for him though. That's a question
Yeah.
for Chap, if he's got an answer, but I do not.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. Next up, we have a new fella announcing his run for FI president. He is Tim Mayer. He is the son of Teddy Mayer. And if you don't know, Teddy Mayer was basically a co-founder of McLaren. He knew Bruce McLaren. They founded the team together. And when Bruce McLaren died, Teddy Mayer took up the leadership of the team and kept it going, kept it in Can-Am, kept it in Formula One, and is basically responsible for the fact that the team now continues to exist despite the founder dying. Tim Mayer has worked in like everything: IndyCar, IMSA, the FIA, Formula One. He's been in tons of councils and bodies in the motorsport world, but was relieved of his duties
Ayo.
via text message by MBS in November 2024. He is saying his whole position here is that the FIA has been changing to centralize power around one guy, and that he thinks that there is a lack of diverse voices, that there's a lack of kind of accountability that's going on, and that he also recognizes because of all of these changes, it's going to be difficult for him to mount a legitimate challenge, considering the World Motorsport Council just announced different rules for how this election is going to go in December, and it seems kind of weighted in the favor of keeping the person in office who is already in office. Why does it matter? There are a lot of people who are displeased with the current direction of the FIA, and Teddy Mayer represents a different kind of, maybe a different path forward. I will say that he had a little press conference at Silverstone, and hearing some of his words, he has a lot of bombast and a lot less policy at the moment, which I guess is fine if you're just announcing. Not much substance. He's got a steep climb ahead of him, basically, is what I am trying to say here. So we'll see how that goes. MBS already has the backing of multiple country motorsport councils, including Spain and Japan. So this is kind of a long shot, but we'll see. At least maybe we'll have some interesting discussions about what it means to be in charge of a race car.
I saw MBS some article about him talking about V8s.
Yeah. He's still banging on that drum. That V8s are still a path forward, which I don't know. I don't see it necessarily working because almost every automaker that has joined the sport has said explicitly we need some element of electrification in the future of our sport. We cannot just go back to pure combustion. Like Ford, I think Audi has said the exact same thing. So I don't know. Just seems like a shot in the dark.
I also want to emphasize the electric part, and I know people get annoyed by it or weird by it and like don't want it. They want like a Formula E series, which I understand, but they're like, bring back V10s. And I can't emphasize enough how much we need to go to electric vehicles and how much every manufacturer understands this. Ford CEO Jim Farley, he went to, I believe it was Japan. He did like a tour around Asia just to look at other competitors and what they're doing. And analyzed the Asian market about their needs for a daily driver, and we are straight cooked. Their EVs are so incredible. And he was just like, we need to catch up. He had this like realization that Ford needs to go EV hard. And that's why I think Ford started offering free EV chargers they would install in your house if you bought a Ford EV. They're like, we are so behind the rest of the world on this. So
we have a lot of institutional issues and structural issues because our government is pushing for more EVs. It was pushing for more EVs, but there's not as much of a push for setting up the infrastructure required to charge those EVs and guarantee. I mean, you can go to any gas station anywhere. You know, you're like throw a pin in a map of the United States and you're probably going to hit a gas station within 2 miles. We don't have that with EV chargers, so it's a much bigger problem. That is part of the reason why there is such a systemic pushback against, like, from the consumers. Yeah, we need to get that sorted out first. I think offering free EV chargers to people who buy them is a really good first step because it's at least saying, look, we're going to make an effort to get this in your garage. Most people are not going to drive far enough to have to charge outside of their house anyway. Most of us drive within a 30-mile radius to get wherever we need to go. But yeah, the electrification is important, even if it is not for a fully electric vehicle. You can get so much better gas mileage by having electrified components. The more electrification you put in, the less you're relying on the combustion engine, all of that stuff. So it's a big push forward for a lot of folks. V10s, even if it is with sustainable fuels and whatnot, is not really the direction anyone wants to go for.
yeah, so it's the United States, as H. Katz also mentions, need to think about lithium ion waste too, because we know how great the U.S. is about waste products. Yeah, I think when Jim Farley went to do his tour about specifically, he always talks about Japan, but I think he went all over like South Korea, things like that, and he's impressed by their entire infrastructure from start to the waste disposal of these EV products. And he's like, we are so far behind, and he had like a crisis. And he's definitely he's like definitely pushing EV stuff in Ford, and I was like, yeah, we need to catch up, guys. We're pretty far behind. I mean, on a lot of things, but specifically if we're talking about EVs, it's going to happen. Most customers don't want electric still. Only 5% U.S. customers want electric. Well, that's, how do I say this?
There's a lot of factors that go into why
Correct.
that is the case.
Yes, thank you so much.
There is a cultural pushback to it because we have defined a lot of the American existence around
We have vilified
loud, fast cars. We vilified anything that is better for the environment. And there's also, again, the pushback where there's a lot of people who would adopt if they knew that they could have somewhere to charge it. We just don't, there is no assurance whatsoever. There is no feeling that this is going to be an easy transition. And that is a large reason why I have been covering the EV car industry pushback since like 2015. So even though I do motorsport now, mostly, I still keep tabs on it because it's hard not to. Yeah, people don't want it, but there is no incentive for them to do it at this exact moment in time because the rhetoric around EVs is very, what is the word I'm looking for? It's very like loaded, like politically charged at this moment in time. And there is no viable path for a lot of folks to feel like they could comfortably make that transition. If it was easy to make it, they would not, or they would probably make it much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there is also the oil lobby juggernaut that puts out as much anti-EV propaganda as humanly possible. So there's a lot working against.
This is a whole episode separate.
Yeah, it really is. Anyway, let's move on to our next topic of conversation. Liberty Media has officially completed its MotoGP purchase. Liberty Media owns Formula One, initiated the purchase of MotoGP many a month ago. I think it was last year. And then it was like, oh, we need to go through the EU to make sure that it is not creating a monopoly. They got the approval to be able to complete the purchase. So Liberty Media has paid 4.3 billion euros to acquire an 84% stake in the series promoter Dorna. The other 16% is owned by Carmelo Ezpeleta, who is the CEO of Dorna, and Enrique Aldama, who oversees company operations. So we're having same people, involved in, I think, the daily running of the sport, but a new arm that's coming in for marketing, promotion, and development in the future.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
MotoGP deserves it. It's a great series. I
Yeah.
love watching it when I do. It's a short series. I keep mentioning that because I think that's a key to people. They're like, I don't want to watch a 3-hour NASCAR race. I was like, perfect. How about a 30-minute two-wheel,
Yeah.
huge adrenaline rush, motorcycle, lean angle, intense race. MotoGP fan reception is hopeful, but also nervous. I don't know
Yeah.
why we're nervous.
I think it's fair to be because when Liberty Media took over Formula One, obviously we have a renaissance of motorsport in the United States as thanks to in large part to the decisions they made to promote the sport, like with Drive to Survive, et cetera, et cetera. Um, it also raised prices exponentially on tickets like everywhere, and it made it more difficult for fans to get into it. It makes European fans pissed off that
Fine with me.
it's Americanized now. So I think there is some viable criticism worth exploring there because I do think charging $1 billion for a ticket to go to the Las Vegas Grand Prix is not going to make anyone feel good or special about Formula One. It just makes you feel poor. Um, so I can see where they're coming from, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited.
If we're talking about prices and accessibility for the everyday fan, and MotoGP is incredibly accessible.
Yes.
And the United States is unfortunately not super popular. If you go to COTA for the race, the access you get and also just
The
the
access
views
is
you get
incredible.
is awesome. It's incredible. God, I went a while ago, but I definitely had to look up some pictures. But absolutely fun. Obviously in Europe, it's a lot more popular.
Mhm.
And I only think this could really, I think the potential cons we don't know yet could, the pros outweigh them, in my opinion. I was talking to someone who does PR MotoGP, and they were talking about how a writer came up to her because in the USGP, they had like men's health, they had like different media, not the traditional like motorsport media, but they had like men's health there and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, this was so fun. No one's ever asked me about like my workout routine. And he's like, I want to
Yeah.
do more of this. And I was like, yeah, we should do more of this. Like, this seems like an easy win of like, hey, men's health, do a video, train like a MotoGP rider, and then look at this cool shit that they do on the weekend.
Yeah.
It seems like simple, low hanging fruit that could really help get to know these riders better, their personalities, the teams as well. I think a lot of people are familiar with the names like Ducati and Yamaha, and they're like, oh, I am familiar with these. I didn't know they did this. So I think it's a plus. Obviously, there'll be something I'm sure we all won't like, but I think this helps a lot for MotoGP. It should be a lot more popular than it is, in my opinion.
Yeah. Agreed. And finally, on our roundup, Roger Penske has replaced the fired IndyCar team members that were knocked out after all of the scandal and drama that took place during qualifying weekend. So they knocked out Tim Cindric, Ron Rosowski, and Kyle Moyer, and now have promoted Jonathan Duguid. He was previously tasked with running the Porsche Penske IMSA WEC program, but is now being promoted to Penske Racing President. So basically moving up from being endurance specific to looking at everything that Penske does. Travis Law has also been promoted. He was a former chief mechanic. I put this in here wrong. He was the second hand, basically, the right hand man of Jonathan Duguid at Porsche Penske, and is being promoted to competition director. So, endurance racing specific guys are being promoted to the big leagues, to everything. So, let's see how that goes. I have hope. I like Jonathan Duguid. He's a good guy. So maybe it'll help.
I mean, we'll talk about this when we get to IndyCar, but Penske's not having a good. There's something going on there, but we'll talk about that when we reach there. And I like that it's endurance specific. I think, yeah, in seniority level, that's probably where you have to go to get guys like this who have the experience. So it's kind of fun.
Yes. But we had race car this weekend.
The British Grand Prix.
Whoa! It's England, so let's start off talking about that weather. It was like chill and nice all weekend, and then race day, like 2 hours before the race,
Pouring.
downpoured. Then on the grid, as they're like lining up, the sun comes out. So everyone starts on intermediate tires. There's rain coming, but they're not sure, quite exactly when. So started on intermediate. A lot of folks swapped to intermediate. Lance Stroll did some crazy strategy where he like went to softs, came out, and then was like, ah, shit, it's gonna rain. Have to go back in and change tires. So it was a fun one just in this beginning, particularly with the strategy. And we ended up with a Lando Norris win at his home race, mostly because Oscar Piastri got a penalty.
Yeah, Oscar made a mistake. Lando didn't. I guess we can give Lando credit for sure. This was his first back-to-back race victory this season, which is surprising to think about. I was like, oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is actually, I think, the first race that Oscar should have won, and he made a mistake and fucked up in like the 3 seasons he's been in Formula One.
Allow me to make a counter argument. Let me set the scene. Oscar Piastri went into the lead, had a strong lead. Coming into lap 22, a safety car was going into the pits. Oscar braked hard in front of it, or behind it, excuse me, and Verstappen raced up behind and then had to pass him in order to avoid hitting him. The FIA stewards determined that that was worth a 10-second penalty because it was deemed as erratic braking. However, data has shown that what Oscar did in that instance was not any different, like not substantially different, not different enough to justify going from no action to a 10-second penalty under the safety car going green conditions. His brake tracing at that exact moment is the same in the previous instance when the safety car turned its lights out and went in. It was just in this moment, the safety car was later, and therefore I think he braked a little more last minute, and with the spray, I think it just made it all the more difficult. And the stewards were like, shouldn't have done it like that this time.
I was reading earlier that when the first safety car instance happened, he was already on their radar because they were like, and then I think exactly to your point, because of everything that had to have happened, and we'll talk about how Nico Hulkenberg gentle parroted him in the cool down room. They're like, and 10 seconds, I believe, is the new, according to the FAA guidelines that were finally published before Silverstone. It's the new baseline penalty because they believe 5 seconds didn't do much. It wasn't a true punishment or punishment enough for infringements during the race. So now it's 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. So that's in line, and it sucks that Oscar was just like the first person to have been dealt that. And a lot of people are asking about George in Canada, without giving all the specific numbers, that the amount of brake pressure that George applied and the speed of when he started and went down to was a lot less significant. There's a less speed differential than when Piastri did it. And then George wasn't cited for braking erratically. It was something else. The word erratic is the big thing for Oscar's penalty as well.
Yes. Again, we also have different
Yeah.
stewards between weekends,
Yes.
so the interpretation of these things can be different every weekend. And there is also updated guidelines between Canada and now. So these things, like, this is an ever-evolving process of discovery.
This made sense to me. People were extremely upset, and I was like, you can't brake check that hard. When I am on 85 in North Carolina, if someone brake checks me, I understand it's my fault because I was following too closely or I wasn't paying attention. Unless I have it on video camera that they obviously brake checked. But this made sense. That was a little much for Oscar.
Yeah. It was. I think I was frustrated at the 10-second penalty just because I feel like that is so much. But if they're putting that as the guideline as the baseline penalty now, then I guess
he was
it's
15
fine.
seconds ahead at lap, was it 14 when the first safety car came out for all that stuff?
Yeah.
So 10 seconds made sense. Because what would 5 seconds have done? You know?
But it ended up just some drama with McLaren. Piastri pitted, had to serve his 10-second penalty, and that handed the lead to Lando Norris. Oscar asked if the team would swap their positions. The team said no. After the race, Oscar clarified, like, yeah, I was really upset, and I saw one final opportunity to perhaps get my position back and thought, well, I might as well try. And so he asked the team, and when the team said no, he was like, yeah, I didn't expect them to say yes, but I'm gonna try.
This is another also thing that started happening is people condensed his radio message. Someone actually posted this in my Discord. They're like, "Oh, how dare he ask like this?" And then
Yeah.
someone else realized that they edited his radio message for this like radio graphic, and I was like, "That's not the full message. Full message is if you guys also think it wasn't fair. I know it's a big question to ask. Let me know. I think we should swap positions." And I was like, "Yeah, he's asking for their advice in the pit wall,
Yes.
like any driver would. Now he's seeing red. He's a little upset. He's also fighting for the championship. I would fucking ask too. This is their job." You might as well. And they said no. And he's like, all right, we're done now.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no back and forth. There was no, I deserve this and he doesn't. It was just, if I was in that position, I would have done the exact same thing. Maybe in a different race, they would have swapped the positions and felt it was unfair. Maybe they would have protested the penalty. But it is the British Grand Prix. A British driver is about to win. It is McLaren's home race. It is Lando Norris's home race. If I was McLaren, I would not be protesting this. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to kill the vibe. But it did end up resulting in some very awkward post-race celebrations because you could tell Oscar was very mad. And you could tell Lando could tell that he was mad. And so I don't think they were mad at each other per se. I just think they were both conscious of the fact that this situation sucks. And so we're not going to like talk to each other and we're not going to do anything. Oh, and I like your Nico Hulkenberg gentle parenting Oscar. She's so funny.
Because he's explaining to him in the cool down room. He's like, yeah, they gave me a 10-second penalty for braking. He's like, and Nico goes, well, yeah, I had to swerve to avoid Gasly. You know, you can't be doing that. And I was like, this is so fun. We have someone who's 39 years old, gentle parenting someone. I forget how old Oscar Piastri is, 23?
I think so.
He was just like, yeah, you can't be doing that.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you, Nico Hulkenberg. The only guy who has like any sense of reason. He has nothing to lose here, nothing to gain here with Piastri's penalty and whatnot. He's just like, yeah, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I feel like it added some context to what every other driver is thinking. If Nico Hulkenberg's like, you know, that was a little bit of a gray area, but you shouldn't have done that. Then I feel pretty good about my thing being like, yeah, he deserves that penalty.
Yeah. I think it was annoying, but it was in line with what was going on. Shit happens. Do better next time, Oscar.
Apologies. Nico is 37, not 39. My bad.
Nico could still be Oscar's father.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's really
moot point.
Yeah, moot point. And I find it interesting that the rhetoric, everyone's like, oh, Piastri is no longer calm, cool, and collected. And I was like, I think for the situation that he is in, as in, we can't.
I think
compare...
his response was still really calm, cool,
exactly 100%. I think for Piastri, when everything is going right, he's calm, cool, and collected. I think being so mad as he was extremely calm, cool, and collected. He was so chill.
If I had that happen to me, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on? Why did they do that? Fuck the stewards. Which I understand you can't do because he would have gotten a penalty. But he was like, hey, if you think this is unfair, let's do swap skis. And when they said no, he said,
He was still in his emotional state of being angry. Usually we are comparing him in a very normal, neutral, happy state. In the angry bubble of Oscar Piastri, that is all still calm, cool, and collected.
If there's like this wide spectrum of emotions, Oscar Piastri is still like in this very fine middle area.
This man is still a psychopath and I love it. I'm such a big fan. He was so chill. And because we absolutely know that if that happened to Max Verstappen, he'd be like, what the fuck? Protest that. What's going on? Yeah. Which is what Max is, which is fine. Lando Norris immediately meltdown. Tears in his eyes. Sorry.
Charles Leclerc, meltdown. Like every other driver would have had a meltdown. Oscar Piastri melted a little bit, but did not get all the way down.
He had an easy win, 15-second lead. Even with that yellow flag, he still would have probably gained that lead back up substantially as Lando Norris eventually started doing again. And I think that's why he was upset about it. Yeah, absolutely. He was upset, but I still think he was calm, cool, and collected upset. I don't think he was upset when people were like, he's so emotional. And I was like, I mean, yeah, he's mad. That's an emotion. I don't think he's being emotional in the way we're talking about it. So I was really surprised to see people say that about him, that he wasn't being calm and cool. I was like, this man is so calm right now. When I get angry,
girl, I handled my crises like that, I think Chris would probably still have like 15 years on his life. But when I am encountering a minor setback and I have my crash out, I go right to my husband, freak the fuck out, make him stressed, and then return back to my state of being. Oscar never had that moment. So,
Sorry to hear, Chris. This is his version of a crash out, which is the still everyone's calm, cool, and collected.
yeah.
He said some sassy comments. He had a sad face on. His
Yeah.
sad face is still pretty neutral, to be honest with you.
Yeah. He was very like, shouldn't talk about it because it's going to get me in trouble. He did mention that again in the press conference afterward. Like, I don't want to talk about it
I mean,
too
he's
much
right. He can't.
because I don't agree. But if I say anything, I'll get in trouble. That's fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Chill.
Let him live.
He didn't walk out and protest the fucking thing like Verstappen
Yeah.
did and had everyone follow him. He's also correct. When drivers say that they can't talk about it, they are absolutely correct that they cannot talk about stewarding decisions or they will get in trouble. So I think he was just reiterating why he's not saying much. I don't think that wasn't like a sassy comment.
Yeah.
And he's moved on. His radio was so calm. I feel like we should be scared. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's emotional." I was like, "No, I'm nervous. I don't know
Dude,
what's
he's
happening
coming
in
back
Spa."
with a vengeance in Spa.
I'm so excited to see how he bounces back in Spa.
Yeah.
So yeah, Piastri, keep doing you, bud. You're crushing it.
Love him. Also, we had a Nico Hulken podium for the first time ever. I never thought I was going to see it. Never thought I was going to see it.
Huge W's all
Motor-
around.
Yeah. 15 years in F1, 239 races. And he finally got a podium. The first time ever. When Nico Hulkenberg entered Formula One,
I love this.
it was 2010. Allow me to set the scene. The release of the iPad happened in 2010. Instagram launched in 2010. The Burj Khalifa officially opened to the public. The Deepwater Horizon drilling platform exploded and dumped oil into the Gulf of Mexico. Not Max Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel became the youngest ever F1 champion at the time. I started high school. You started freshman year at college. It was a long time ago. And yet here we are. It's like no time ever happened.
And I would like to add, because I made a video about this right after the race, and everyone except one person was ecstatic. Someone said that everyone's soft, and I can't believe we're celebrating. It took him 15 years to get to the podium. And I was like, there's a lot of context around his lack of podiums, where I believe personally he never had the car. Not never had the car. He didn't have the best car to get him to the podiums at most of his career.
Yes.
2, he was close and he did make mistakes. Absolutely. We all know the famous ones when he spun out in the rain. But everyone else also spun out in that race when it rained. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Vettel, like they all lost control of their cars. I do not blame him for that mistake there when he lost his chance for the podium. Yeah. But there was also many times that the podium, like it was taken away from him, not due to his mistakes, because someone else's mistakes on the track. So it's not because like he like all this other like this is not inherently him. Also, he's been in F1 driving for various teams and such, and staying where he has been. Yeah. Because people fuck with Nico Hulkenberg. Like he is reliable. He's a good driver. Yeah. He obviously gives the feedback that the teams need to develop these cars a little bit better. He clearly has been doing also really, really well as the past couple of races. Getting from the teens to at least P5, P6, and now the podium. Like Hulkenberg, this is a great story.
Yeah. So I linked an article that I wrote like at the start of the season. Nico Hulkenberg is one of those drivers who chronically outperforms the car that he is driving in. He's just never had, I think, the resources or the connections to make it up to that top tier team, the same way that a lot of other drivers have. Like you look at, he wasn't part of the Red Bull program.
He's not a
He
paid
wasn't part of
driver.
a Mercedes program. He's not a paid driver. Like this is a guy who he's around and has continued to be around because teams know that they can continue to hire him and he will do good. If you're looking, I mean, I know Sauber has improved its car this year as well as everything else. But like it took until Las Vegas last year for Sauber to score a point. He got it sorted out like Nico Hulkenberg before the halfway point of the season scoring points. So this is a guy who can take a dog and make it. I think that was Chris opening a can or something, or a cat making a noise. Anyway, he's a great driver. And I think this his oh it's it's my cat playing with a spring. I thought it was Chris cracking open a can outside of my office. I was like, dang.
Just a 40 at a 10:42 a.m. Just
Yeah. Red Bull or something. I don't know. Nico Hulkenberg qualified 19th on the grid. So he started dead last because Franco Colapinto started from the pit lane. But he got a boost at the start. I think, I don't know. A lot of drivers after the formation lap realized it's different conditions than we expected. We're going to come in, pit, get new tires, different tires. So Nico Hulkenberg remained on the track and was, I think, 12th by like the end of the first lap. So 19th to 12th, because a lot of folks in between he didn't have to worry about anymore. In Sauber was on it with their pit stops. They were like they had a crystal ball and they could see exactly what was going on. They pitted Hulkenberg for fresh intermediate tires on lap 9, which is 1 to 2 laps ahead of the rest of the field. That was just in time for the rain to start falling, which meant that as the other drivers were slipping and sliding around the track on their slicks or their old inters, Nico Hulkenberg was out there on fresh inters, cruising around like nobody's business. He said he was able to gain about 10 seconds on the rest of the field there. So that's crazy. 10 laps before the end of the race, they pulled him in for slick tires, which was again before the rest of the field. And that was like the secret ingredient he needed to be able to continue pushing past the rest of the field. He battled with guys like Lewis Hamilton to take his first ever podium. Hamilton did make some mistakes on his outlap after he swapped tires, so probably would have had a better shot at challenging Nico for that, but for the storyline, I'm glad I didn't. Um, and yeah, then he gets up there, and the McLaren guys just like ignored him on the podium.
Oh, no, you're not one of these propagandists. Oh, no.
What? I am one of these propagandists. I know they were mad,
No,
but
no,
like,
one of them is celebrating a home win.
I know.
And he's doing his own thing. He's trying to celebrate.
Yeah.
Also, the podium was small as shit. I don't know if you saw, like, they could barely.
Yeah.
I just, like, don't. And he. Also, Lando did celebrate with him. He sprayed him a little bit. They were
Yeah.
chatting.
But still.
I think they were fine. I think everyone was chill. Oscar was kind of ignoring everybody. But,
Yeah.
yeah. I really don't think the podium's a big deal. I think it was
I
fine.
think it is. I'm butthurt about it.
Why?
I will sit in my pee pants. I don't care.
Please celebrate my son Michael Waltrip, who finished third. Yeah, I really think the whole podium thing was fine. I think I think a lot of people are just making a bigger deal than it actually was. You could be like, hey, you should have celebrated a little bit harder, but maybe
Yeah.
moved on.
Well,
from
I
that.
don't think it was like the end of the world, but like, come on. Like he's been racing in this series since you guys were like babies. Like,
Yeah,
don't know.
but that's exactly the thing.
Give
They're
him
not his
some kudos.
peers. Like people are like,
don't care.
People are like Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso would have done it. I was like, yes, because they were there. When
Yeah,
it
they've
happened.
seen this.
They've seen this. This is Piastri's third season. It's not even his full season. It's his second season. This is a child. He doesn't understand. It's like a 40-year-old guy at a community college is at the party. Thank you. That's exactly what it's like. That's exactly what
Pshaw.
happened. And then they celebrated a little
Pshaw.
bit, and they're like, "This is awkward. Why is my dad here?" And then, and then he celebrated with his peers later. Everyone else congratulated him. He got to rage so hard. He's like, "Call me tomorrow night for any interviews. I'm gonna be a little
Yeah.
hungover on Monday."
It was very funny. Like a bunch of the teams, I know Mercedes like brought gifts over to Sauber to like celebrate and like
they had no
was
champagne
really cute.
because they didn't expect it.
yeah.
So
So
a lot of teams bought it. I think it was Aston Martin. You mentioned Mercedes. Yeah, a lot of teams chipped in to bring stuff to celebrate.
yeah, it was cute. Also in the press conference afterward, someone asked Oscar Piastri a question, and then he was like, "Hey, I have a question for Nico. After 15 years, you've been trying so hard and getting so far, and you finally get your first F1 podium. How do you feel that your trophy is made of Legos and you can just take it apart?" He was so pissed.
That was great. Look, Nico gave his Lego trophy. It was hilarious. He's like, well, it is what it is, I guess. Thanks, Lego.
He was like, "Well, my daughter likes Legos, so I guess she can
Yeah.
take it apart."
I was surprised because they gave Lando a real and a Lego trophy, right? And I was like, why
Yeah.
didn't you just do that for everybody and give him a real one
Yeah.
and a Lego one? Like Lego for the sponsor
Yeah.
TV bit, but then give him a real one.
Yeah, like it afterward. Be nice.
I guess he gets the medal, which is what they use for drivers to keep because the trophies go to the teams. So
I guess.
yeah, I agree.
Still.
It should have been a real one.
Yeah. Yep. This weekend we also had Max Verstappen, who made a bold swing on the setup front and then missed dramatically come race day. He was dealing with both understeer and oversteer in practice at the same time, and told the team like let's try something crazy. Let's do a low downforce setup. So they trimmed their car out to about Monza spec, which is abnormal for anywhere but Monza. And it worked in qualifying, got him a pole position, and he was like, I just hope it doesn't rain. Guess what it did? It rained. So he had a very hard time keeping his car on the track, and I think he did a great job staying up near the front of the field. But when he spun behind Oscar, when they came right after they had the whole Oscar braked real early, Max came flying up behind him and then bypassed him and had to slow down. He spun on that restart, probably perhaps because he was a little flustered at almost running into the back of another
Yeah,
car.
agreed.
Completely understand that. He dropped back to 10th place, and from there, like he did work very well to compete and like make it further up the field, but he was like, this is hard. This is not going well. So the setup choice was not a good one.
Yeah, I really think the Piastri thing like threw him off, and then Piastri sped away, and then he tried to like unfumble and like unjumble
Yeah.
whatever just happened, and then he spun like that. That was really unfortunate for him. But
Yeah.
that Red Bull is a dog, as Trent says. Like if it's not in clean air, it's just
Yeah.
a shit show, dude.
It's over.
It's over.
It wasn't good. We also had a bunch of weird shit that happened this weekend. Oliver Behrman had a very weird incident in FP3. There was a red flag for Gabriel Bortoleto crashing, and as Behrman returned to the pits, he did not slow down under red flag conditions. And then he crashed into the wall, which forced other drivers who were also pitting under the red flag conditions to take evasive action and not run into this man who was crashing his Haas. Behrman was trying to say that it was because he had cold brakes and tires because he had just come out of the pits. But the stewards were like, hey, buddy, you were going faster on the red flag lap than you had on the green flag laps. So, sure, maybe your tires and brakes were cold, but why were you going that fast? He got hit with a 10-place grid penalty because of that and 4 penalty points, which is the most penalty points a driver can receive for any single incident. That brings his penalty point total up to 8 out of the maximum of 12. He just kind of existed in the race. Wasn't a good one, wasn't a bad one, but like, holy shit.
Excuse me, he was
What a
the only
mess.
rookie to survive.
Yeah, I guess.
Third consecutive P11.
Okay.
That boy's going places. Put some respect on Behrman's name here, okay?
Third consecutive P11 when the rest of the field died is not a thing I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about him. I thought I liked him, and then I'm like, well, now
I still love
he
him.
does a lot of weird stuff.
He's a rookie. He's a child. He's like 19 years old. What is he? 20? How old is he? He's a baby.
He is a literal child, but also
Do you remember when Max Verstappen was a menace? Do you remember when Sebastian Vettel was a menace?
I do remember that, and I hated them.
Do you hate them now?
No, but I've had time to evolve my opinion and feeling.
Rookie of
I
the
still
year?
hate their asses back then.
It's probably going to be Antonelli, to be honest.
Yeah, Kimberly is absolutely getting it. Sorry.
I will protect the rookies. Yeah.
Franco Colapinto. He's just Cole Custer.
That's so funny.
Franco Colapinto had a very bad weekend. He spun and crashed in Q1, then started from pit lane on the race due to a ton of power unit changes, and then just like straight up pulled in and retired after the formation lap. Not really sure what happened there because Alpine tweeted that like something was wrong, but when they sent a text to media and like let them know, it was like it kind of seemed like it put the blame on Franco of like he messed up and he decided not to take the start. Like it was his choice that he just didn't want to race. This is bad news bears for Franco because he is on a race by race contract at the moment. He kind of needed a miracle in Silverstone, because the team, I think he has worn out his welcome at Alpine a little bit and instead had a very embarrassing weekend. There is, making it even worse, Gasly made it to Q3 and then finished sixth in the race. So Alpine has some amount of performance in that car, maybe not a lot, but there is, you know, no excuse for crashing constantly. Um, we are talking about replacements already at this point. Valtteri Bottas's name entered the ring. Um, Paul Aaron, who is a Formula 2 driver, his name is also regularly in the ring. So I think they want to go for Bottas at this point in time just because they want to get some points and have two cars that score. But it's not looking good for him. Yeah.
I'm going probably with Valtteri. I like if Pierre Gasly can get that car. Pierre Gasly had a W of a weekend. I'm going to be nice about it. In my love for Pierre Gasly, I think they need Valtteri then there, not Paul.
Yeah.
I think they're looking for.
I don't think they can do another rookie.
Yeah.
Like they're.
And then they're this is the last swap they can do unless they go back to Doohan, right? Because then that's 4 for the team, so they got to pick well.
Yeah, they have to. They have to.
Which is why I think
wisely.
Valtteri is the next best choice that they should have.
Yeah. Whether or not Valtteri wants to go there remains another question.
Whatever.
But we'll see. He may very well just want to be like in the team, just like racing.
Okay.
Will Valtteri still be everyone's backup driver too? I don't believe he would be at that point. I think they would have to bring someone else in. Charles Leclerc this weekend.
Biblically terrible race weekend.
Biblically terrible. The man had a crash out for the ages.
No redeemable qualities the entire race weekend.
Everything was bad. After qualifying, he thought he could do better than he did, especially because he topped FP3 at the timing sheets for FP3. He radioed into the team to say, fuck that. So fucking shit I am. I am so fucking shit. That's all I am.
Thanks, Dr. Seuss.
My poor boy. He went to media afterward and was like, I didn't do my job. Qualifying used to be my strong suit. And now when I look back, there's not a single qualifying session this year that I feel good about where I wouldn't have gone back and done something different. The races are fine, but I get qualifying wrong every weekend. Then he goes to the race and it was bad. He ran off the track. He finished 14th. That was the only driver who finished the race lower than him was Yuki Tsunoda. So he was the penultimate driver who finished the race. Not a good look, particularly because Lewis Hamilton was up in P4. So he should have had more. He did not. My heart goes out to him. I'm glad he has some time off now.
He's a sports psychologist. He just Ferrari has broken our man.
It really has. Like everything this year has not been. It's been a disaster.
I've been reading that supposedly there's something. I mean, we all know there's something wrong with the car, but what is that thing? And educated guesses, smarter than me, have assumed engine problems. Something's going on with the engine. Not so much the balance, the aero, everything. A lot of things point to the engine, and they've compared some lap times on certain tracks and like what's going on there. But Charles Leclerc like kind of hinted at it, but then he was like, "Oh, said too much." And then I think Fred talked around it when people asked during the stuff. So we'll
see how it goes.
And I know people have thoughts about Hamilton's weekend too. I understand he got P4, which breaks his streak of podiums at Silverstone. But I would like to say comparatively, if we're looking at Ferrari as a whole, I feel like a P4 we should still be pretty damn proud of. I understand we wanted a podium for him, and he could have if he didn't make that outlap mistake, as you mentioned earlier, and then blew his chances to catch up to Nico Hülkenberg. It happens. I still think a P4 is incredible from Lewis Hamilton. Not from himself, from Lewis Hamilton in a Ferrari.
Yeah. It is. It matches the best result that he's had. The previous best result in Austria also was fourth, and he did fourth at Imola. It signals that there might be some improvements because they've made that upgrade in Austria to rectify certain issues with the car, particularly with the balance and whatnot. And I believe there's another update coming in the future, but it seems like at least it gave Lewis a little bit of a better handle on the car, when he talked to media afterward, he also said, "This is the worst car I have ever driven in these conditions. This car is not built for the wet." And he was like, "It was good in the sense that it was instructive. So I now know what I need to tell the designers of next year's car to not include for that car because I cannot do this again." Not great. Very much not great for him.
We need to save Charlotte Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton for whatever's happening. They both deserve so much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fact that Lewis Hamilton can drive up to P4 in that car, not him. I'm not
Yeah.
questioning his skill set.
Yeah.
I'm questioning Ferraris, and
Yes.
that's what we talked about last week. So I'm still giving Lewis Hamilton a pretty good weekend.
Yeah. I was gonna say, all things considered, was it the best he would have hoped for? No.
No.
Was it good in comparison to the rest of the season? Yes. Yeah. What did you think of this race? Do you like it?
I have very particular ways I like to talk about rain races. I talk about this with James Coker a lot on our other pod. I get frustrated when he's like, "I love this. It was chaotic." I was like, "You just like chaos. You don't actually like racing
Yeah.
because not a lot of racing occurred in this race, so we
Correct.
don't have much to judge it on." And if we're talking about a race of the races and strategy and stuff, I give it like a 7.5, 8 because I think the crossover points between intermediates and slicks and then slicks back to intermediates and vice versa and all that stuff was pretty interesting. And see who fucked up and didn't, and our rookies and stuff who like fared well in the weather. But like the chaos didn't add to my enjoyment.
I think the chaos did, but specifically because it opened up a lot of strategy possibilities that I like to follow. So it was like, oh, someone has spun out. What does that mean? Like, are we gonna pit now? Is someone gonna do something?
Yeah,
Like maybe
because of the yellow.
not so much.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe not a ton of like side by side racing action. But the fact of like, when do you pit? When do you go? The unpredictability of the weather. How do you handle that? Like just from the strategic point of view, I
in
think I
that
found
kind of
that really
chaos, yes.
interesting.
But like the
Yeah,
incidents, like I was just like, oh, that's terrible. Like I don't want to see
yeah,
anyone not race, you know.
yeah,
So like just because like a lot of crazy stuff happened, like in the incidents category and stuff, and people DNFing and whatnot, like that wasn't my favorite. But yeah, to your point, then yes, like I love the rain, love when the yellows come out and we lose that lead. What does that mean? Who can catch up to you and all that stuff?
yeah. I also like to see who can race in the rain. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Yeah, there's a lot of drivers that like crashed and retired and did not do well. I don't know. I like to see where it's like, the rookies clearly still got some work to do when it comes to the wet weather stuff, but I don't know, it's a growth opportunity. Like I know that just made it sound so fucking corporate. Um, but like I don't know. It's
Development,
like,
so yeah.
well, you can see how they're gonna grow as drivers. You can
Yeah.
see who screwed up. You can see who is not as good in rainy conditions. You can see like the field condenses because it takes away the benefits of like aerodynamics for certain cars, even though McLaren was still obscene. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was good. I
Dude,
give it a
Charles
rating
Leclerc could
8.5.
not fucking handle that car either. Man went to the gravel and then getting out, he hits Carlos Sainz, ruins his race. I was like, can you control your valiant steed, please? Like, please
Put that prancing horse down. Come on.
just please tame this thing. This is insane. And for a series that only races on asphalt slash different kinds of, I know there's different kinds of asphalt. We talk about this all the time, but they don't race on dirt, right? Snow, whatever. The rain is the only thing that really changes the track a lot, as in all the variables that you mentioned of aerodynamics. I mean, changes the track evolution completely. It changes
Yeah.
so much. That is like the big thing. That's a big variable that I love when it comes into play. Because to your point, I think it really shows some skill sets or lack thereof of the drivers and of the teams when we're talking about strategy too. So I do love rain races for that reason. It tests them in a different way.
Yeah, I don't think we would have gotten a Nico Hulkenberg podium had it not been raining because they just called it so well and handled it so well.
Which works out great for me.
Yes.
And everyone is a Hulkenberg fan of this. So, because he's lost his podiums to the rain. So, I'm just glad that he's won because of the rain. It's a nice full circle moment.
It all comes back around.
It all comes back around. We have no races for like 3 weeks, by the way, everyone.
Yeah.
This is not summer break. This is not summer shutdown, by the way. This is just a
this
random
is
break.
just a pause in the action.
Do you
The
know
next
why?
race
Is it just
at
like
the
the
end of month.
contracts just worked out this way? And
I think it was the contracts, the timing. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is, especially because we've had so many triple headers. You feel like you could pop one in this break, have a week off, put a race in, have another week off, and then we go to Belgium. But what do I know? I'm not Mr. Formula One.
Let me call him up real quick. But yeah, we have a little
Yeah,
bit of a break.
let me get him. Let me get him on the phone.
Let me get him on the phone. So we have this 2 races, Belgium and Hungary, and then we have another break, which is summer shutdown, which you actually can't do anything.
Correct.
John Formula One. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But we do have other racing.
We have NASCAR that also happened this weekend.
Yeah.
NASCAR Chicago.
Love it.
What a race. What
Both
a
of them.
weekend.
Awesome. I love NASCAR at Chicago.
I do too. Shane Van Sweepsbergen took pole and victory in both the Xfinity and Cup races. So shout out to him. He absolutely nailed it. Neither race was very straightforward for him, so it wasn't like he just led every lap and made a perfect finish. In Xfinity, he had a cool suit malfunction and it was very hot, and he was like very, before the race, clearly making a point of saying, hey, I'm trying to stay in the shade. I'm trying not to get overheated. I'm trying to keep myself like in a healthy, good condition to race today and then recover easily to race tomorrow. No, his cool suit said no. He had a carburetor issue. His team put him on a very strange strategy that for a while looked like it was not going to work out. And then at the end of the race, he pushed past Connor Zilic and took victory at a restart. So couldn't stop him. Connor Zilic was so mad. So mad. He got bozoed by a grown adult and he was so mad about it.
Welcome to NASCAR, baby.
But it was good. It was a good 1-2 for JR Motorsports. I don't know. It was fun. Sick burnouts. Shane Van Gisbergen fucking did it again. And then in Cup was amateur hour for everyone.
Yeah, that was insane. Like all these guys, I say this every single time we have like a overtime, and I'm like, guys, you're all fucking professionals. Like, can we not?
Yeah.
This entire race, I was like, none of you are professionals. Who are you?
No.
What is happening?
You guys all of you are wieners. The start of the race, Carson Hocevar hits the wall, bounces back into the wall, and then like stops on the track in such a perfect way that it collected multiple cars crashing into him behind him, which was just hilarious. I don't know. You put walls there, and for some reason they're like, we gotta hit these. We have to hit these. We gotta touch them.
He pinballed so perfectly.
He pinballed.
And then only one car at a time, but then everyone was stacked up, and some people didn't catch it in time because of one reason or another. And it's like, and then other people's brackets got fucked up again because of this for the in-season challenge. So,
yep. Just hilarious. There were 2 cautions and restarts, a lot of mid-ass race car drivers who simply could not keep their shit together. Lots of beating and banging, and at the end of the race, SVG nevertheless held off Ty Gibbs and Tyler Reddick for a win. But also, I wanted to give a shout out to Tyler Reddick. He passed 15 cars in 12 laps. That's freaking insane on a street course. So he nailed that. Just wasn't good enough to get him a win.
Mark goes, I love Carson being interviewed saying, I was riding around at like 80%. My brother in Christ, what would have happened if you were pushing?
Yeah. As soon as it happened, I was like, where's Ricky Stenhouse? Please tell me he's caught up in this. I want to see them scrap, but it was not meant to be. Maybe next week in Sonoma.
The Bowman Bubba thing was interesting to me. That was really scrappy.
Yeah. Yeah. That was really like beating and banging on each other. It was only going to end up with someone backwards, and that
Which
someone was
happened to be Bubba Wallace. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. They were doing well, and then they got really aggro. Like, really aggro. I always get nervous at the pit lane entry. I think Christopher Bell got caught up by that a couple of times because you don't have a lot of time. You're coming out of a corner, and the pit lane entry is right there. So you have to make like a hard right into pit lane. You don't have a lot of time to slow down your speed. So a couple drivers get caught off by that. Christopher Bell being one of them. But sometimes when I see them racing each other, I'm afraid someone's going to door someone and then either send them in the pit lane or that barrier that separates it. I'm like, ugh. Please.
Thankfully, it didn't happen, so.
Yeah, knock on wood.
But Jesus. We also had a big day. Catherine Legg, top 20. She finished 19th. That is the first woman in 8 years to finish in the top 20.
Hells
and the best finish for BJ McLeod's Live Fast Motorsport team at any track excluding super speedways. Catherine Legg said she was glad to get the monkey off her back, to have a good finish. She had a absolutely disastrous qualifying lap that nevertheless outqualified Corey Heim in 2311 racing. She was hitting walls. She was like her car was a mess because she had already had some issues. She said it was more stressful than qualifying for the Indy 500 because at least at Indy she knows where she's going, and in Chicago it felt like drinking from a fire hose because there's no practice for her. You just go out and send it. Uh, it was wild. It was a good one. Very glad that she pulled it together for that.
That one guy mentioned it was hilarious seeing Catherine Legg giving Chase Elliott the bumper after Chase door slammed her. Then he like put his hand. He was like, "Oh, my bad."
Yes, queen.
Yes.
Show him who's boss.
Damn straight, Chase. You can't bully everyone. Gosh, no, it's a great race from her.
Yeah, it was a great race all around. I really enjoyed it.
I'm sure haters on Twitter still had something to say, but
he did yell at her post race. Well, eat shit, Chase. That's all I gotta say.
I don't know. Yeah, make me care more about you. Maybe I really don't care what you have to say, Chase Elliott. Thank you so much.
Yeah. There was also a crash at the end. Chris says I don't need to talk about this, but
I think we
do.
do. Denny Hamlin talked about it, and he put out a scathing Instagram reel about this. So
yeah, Chris says that it does not line up with our kissing ass. But I think yeah,
he makes a good point.
He does. Let's lightly touch this. With 2 laps remaining, Cody Ware blew a brake rotor and then ran into the tire 6 barrier at about 93 miles per hour. Radioed into the team to ask for help, but NASCAR nevertheless waited 35 seconds to throw a yellow, so that gave SVG time to take the white flag, so the race would end under caution but not have to deal with the green-white checker. As Chap says, the doctor was there when Cody Ware climbed out of the car. Still, I think the time between the crash and the intensity of the crash and the flag being flown was a long time. It just felt like it was a long time.
I'm assuming he radioed and said he was okay.
He radioed in and said he needed help.
Oh.
Yeah, that was the thing.
Maybe NASCAR just didn't hear it, Elizabeth.
Maybe.
While we're ass kissing. Potentially.
Yeah. Mayhaps. He was all right, which is the big thing. They had insulated that wall very well so that he could hit it at 93 miles per hour and not sustain any damage or injury. Yeah, I didn't like it. Yeah. Sorry, NASCAR. It felt like it was a matter of trying to avoid having a green-white checker finish and continue doing nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair, they shouldn't need to hear it in order to call a caution. Yeah, that was hard. Seeing that on television, you knew that was incredibly crazy. NASCAR implicitly agreeing with everyone about overtime rules being bad. Yeah, I don't know why they just couldn't have just finished under a yellow then. I understand. They could have just been like, oh, it's raining, medical stuff. We're just going to call it now. We're going to red flag and call it. I just don't understand.
I don't know. It was strange. It was also just the outline, or the layout of the race in and of itself was strange. So someone who had a medical incident in the infield of the track, and they had to like red flag the race to be able to get an ambulance across, which I was like, dang. The logistics of a straight course are insane.
Yeah. I'm glad. I mean, Denny Hamlin was able to easily call them out a little bit harder than we are, God forbid, making our lives harder or whatnot. But I'm glad he did because...
Yeah. I think NASCAR just put itself between a rock and a hard place in that one, where it's like, we don't want to deal with the rain at the end of this because it's probably just going to make everything worse. Also, maybe we shouldn't have green-white checker situation. Maybe we can consider that at some point in the future. I'm not Mr. NASCAR, so...
I mean, after you call Mr. Formula One, maybe we should call Mr. NASCAR.
Bring up Mr. NASCAR next. This could have been, however, the very last NASCAR race at Chicago. So it was the last contracted year of the street race. Alderman Brendan Riley told the Chicago Sun-Times that city officials will meet with NASCAR to discuss a 2-year contract extension that would allow the race to continue through the 2027 season. NASCAR is pushing for a 90-day time period on that. They want this sorted out as quickly as humanly possible, probably to be able to put out a calendar very quickly. NASCAR improved operationally year over year. The organizers did a good job of community outreach, but there were still a lot of folks who pushed back against the very concept of this. Another Chicago Sun-Times article that I thought was extremely funny. Um, there was an anti-love letter to the race because
Just hate
I don't
mail.
know, they
Yeah.
just didn't like it. Quote, "Do you see where we're going with this? We need some space. Unfortunately, you kind of have this way of taking up the entire best part of downtown, forcing us to take weird, annoying alternate routes just to avoid you. We don't want to have to behave that way ever, let alone for 2 whole weeks." 2 whole weeks.
It's
It only
such an
took 2 weeks
exaggeration.
to set this up. 2 whole weeks. And there was also, oh, I didn't pull this one. I'm gonna go see if I can. There's another really funny bit.
Did you find it funny because you, like me, also thought it was ridiculous?
Yes.
Okay.
The point is, we've got some new things we'd like to experience. Old things. Old things like a souvlaki kebab, a giant turkey leg, and some delicious lumpia enjoyed next to Buckingham Fountain in early July as God intended. Old things like the lakefront being a picture-perfect postcard, not a Dale Earnhardt poster.
Okay, 2 weeks, one, is a gross exaggeration.
Yeah.
They do start setting up stuff, but you're still allowed to walk around there.
Yeah, and you can still drive through there, I believe, as well.
Yeah. So definitely up to a couple days beforehand. Um,
But
yeah,
2 weeks also is an impressive amount of time to set up a street circuit. Like that's all he did was say they did a good job, but he just didn't like it.
I can't take credit for this, but I don't know if the Chicago Sun-Times writes with so much fervor about the fucking Bears like they do NASCAR. Maybe your teams would actually perform better if you bucked up about the Bulls and the Bears and everything else around your goddamn fucking
But
city.
that was the thing. That's how that whole article starts out. We already have sports. We already have sports.
This is
We
such a
don't need-
successful
we don't
sporting
need your
event.
sports.
Okay, context. I don't want people to be like, "Oh, she's just from North Carolina and she's just some hick who loves NASCAR." First of all, I'm from New York City. Talk about things that shut down cities and fucking annoy me. Very aware of it. This is not my first like logistical rodeo here. Okay, you have to go around the park. Like you can't cut through your park, and that's why you're upset. And he also bitches about fireworks, like there aren't fireworks
Yeah.
on the pier, which are also beautiful, and you have the Chicago skyline or the lake view and all this other stuff. Like all this thing was just so dumb, and it could all have been
Yeah.
refuted. And this is such a successful sporting event compared to your beloved Bears and Bulls. Okay, and it's bringing money, it's bringing STEM education. NASCAR's pumping money into making your city better, fixing your fucking road because those
Yeah.
cars can't drive there. I get it. We're annoyed by the traffic, as I am always when 5th Street closes down for a parade, which is every goddamn fucking weekend. But this letter was insane.
Yeah. It was very mind-boggling. I think NASCAR did a good job of like again the community outreach, like letting people know that they can come here. Kids 12 and under were free all weekend, so
Yeah.
you get the families in. It was like making sure that people locally knew what it was about. They did a way better job, right, than
Yeah, if you
F1
follow
has
the
ever
account,
done in Las Vegas.
100%. Elizabeth makes such a good point. 100%. And they also, keep Chicago, so sometimes can't bitch about the White Sox, Bears, and Bulls being god awful. Oh yeah, NASCAR. If you follow the Chicago NASCAR account, they do such a good job with community outreach.
Yeah.
To your point, but also I think for schools, they bring
Yeah.
kids, or like they bring the car, their show car. They have like a fake. I'm sure it drives. Sorry, I say fake. Like they have to push it everywhere. They don't. It has like the Chicago Street Race Course logo or like paint scheme on it, and they bring that car. And sometimes Joey Logano goes to Chicago. I think Chase Elliott went at the beginning of the year. Or Bubba Wallace
Yeah.
went, and they go to schools and they talk about NASCAR, but mostly not just like NASCAR, like race cars. They talk about like STEM education. They talk about science, engineering, math.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is great. This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. They do a great job kind of all around. And again, I think I was reading that they reduced their operational, like their setup time 42% when compared to last year, to the extent that the locals were coming to public officials and saying, "Is this race happening? Because we thought the roads would be shut down by now." And like that was how much they were able to move it. I see a lot of folks in the chat mentioning the 4th of July weekend. That is a sticking point for a lot of folks. Again, move it, right? It's okay. if your only concern is I can't sit there and watch the fireworks on July 4th because there's NASCAR in town, move it a month. I don't care. Like, let's make sure we keep this race because it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, NASCAR is so fun. I also liked going there last year and talking to a lot of people. I like waiting in line and just getting in and stuff like that. Father and daughter who are just like, yeah, we see this all the time. This is our next year, like second year going, and we love it. It's so chill. The concert was really good. I think they had Zach Brown band this time.
Yeah.
That's always really fun. Yeah, they like shut down the park in like one of the streets by the museums for like the race and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And they like open back up right away. And I get it. People complain about that, but then you see a lot of people at the end of the barriers or like climbing bus stop like on the roof of it to like get views into the track. Like people are intrigued for sure. It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
I also love the thing they do with the Cubs. They have like a NASCAR night at like Cub Stadium, and I fucking love Wrigley Field. So
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come
San
back.
Diego
Come back,
talks.
Chicago car.
Yeah, please. I love Chicago. I would definitely go again if they renew. But I was nervous for the rain. I didn't want it to rain again during the Cup race, and I was like, it's already ruined two Chicagos. Didn't want to do it again. I was scared.
Yeah. Oh well. Hopefully it comes back because it's a fun race every year. It's so cool. It's so
It's
cool to
so well
see.
done.
It's well done, and I also just love to see drivers doing something that they don't know how to do. I mean, like there's Shane
Yeah,
Van
for
Gisbergen
sure.
clearly knows what he's doing, but like so many of the drivers, even if they have road course skill and experience, having the walls like directly next to your car, basically driving through a tunnel, presents a whole entire new challenge that I love to watch, even if it does provide amateur hour moments like Carson Hocevar's. I don't know. It's still fun. It's cool to see guys who can be a master at various other tracks be a newbie again.
Yeah. God, this is not a fully baked out idea. I'm just going to say my feelings about this. Um, and chat and you can help me form it into a cake. I love when races are near a fucking city where I can train in, fly
Hmm.
in, not have to drive to goddamn nose in the middle of nowhere and park in
Yeah.
this huge ass field, and then I am stuck there the entire
Yeah.
time, and then my hotel is an hour away,
Yeah.
and it's just such a pain in the ass. I loved Chicago and then Vegas for Formula One. So I need to leave the track to go grab something real quick, or I forgot something, or I need to grab dinner
Hmm.
somewhere, or do whatever.
Yeah.
It's just so easy when it's in a city. And I
Yeah.
get it. That's like a picture perfect thing. Coda is okay. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass. It's like one
It's
way
still
in, one way
annoying.
out. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
You're really just stuck there the entire time. If they like made tracks a true city-ish kind of feel, Daytona did
Hmm.
this decently well for the 24. I secretly wish they had like a CVS like partnership where they can set up and put things there. But Daytona does it pretty well. They have like a city inside the track, even though Daytona is still within its city limits, and all that stuff is really easy. I just loved Chicago. It's
Yeah.
just so much better than driving to wherever and having to deal with all that shit.
Yeah. A lot of the businesses that are like across from the track said that they get so much business through that weekend because people like pop in and
Yeah.
out of the circuit
They
between
fixed that,
sessions
by
and
the way,
stuff.
from the first year. I would
Yeah.
like to denote that.
Yeah. So like they were like that, that's a great change.
Mm.
I'm with you 100%. I do love a good racetrack out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, but there is nothing quite like the convenience of being able to just go out your front door, get on a bus, and then be delivered to the gates of the thing in like 20 minutes or less.
If I could walk to a racetrack from my hotel, that is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that
That's
is a
the
yes for
dream.
me.
And I get it. It's just like we can't do that because of the noise and people complain. But goddamn, if they do street circuits well, which I think Chicago is one of the few street circuits that are done well, I don't like Miami. And Miami's the same issue. You can't really just walk out your door
I
and
was
go
gonna
to
say
Miami.
Miami's not
No,
really a street
Miami's
circuit.
not the one that I am a fan of. Vegas, though, still my favorite. I know locals and there's issues there. If I had like
Yeah.
an RV or like a car big enough, because I gotta
Yeah.
pay for a rental car if I go out there. It's just I'm camping walk-ins next year. Right. If I camped walk-ins next year,
I was gonna say
there's
I
nothing
like
like public transportation,
yeah.
leaving, coming in, doing other stuff, good restaurants everywhere, other sporting events I can go to. I love Indy for that reason, right? I go to the Indian Fever game when they're playing the Liberty and all this other stuff. It was awesome. It's fucking great.
Yeah. I mean I like camping at racetracks, but I know that's not everyone's thing. And I don't like doing it if I am there to work the event because I want to have like a hot shower and somewhere quiet and like climate control to be able to decompress a little bit if I have to work something. So like to your point, if you're going there like making content, writing stories, interviewing people, I need to have I need to have my hotel. Sorry.
But yeah, I hope Chicago stays. But I know they're sniffing around San Diego.
Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Fingers crossed.
IndyCar, Mid Ohio.
Scott Dixon saved us from an open AI
I
victory.
love that line.
Thank you so much, Scott Dixon. Alex Palou qualified on pole, led most of the race, but he like lost concentration, he said, with like 5 laps to go and then ran into the marbles. And it was just enough to let Scott Dixon pass to take the victory, to take the lead. Alex Palou was like right behind him, just couldn't make it stick because Scott Dixon knows how to make a car big, make a car wide, cover that whole track. Alex Palou is still so far ahead in the points that he could skip both races next weekend in Iowa. It's a doubleheader weekend and come back to Canada and still have a massive points lead. He doesn't he's fine. Scott Dixon did amazing work from Scott Dixon. He did a 2-stop pit strategy, whereas all of the competition did 3 stops to be able to drive all out. Dixon did 2 stops and had to basically save fuel and tires the entire race. He nevertheless was still in position to take advantage of Alex Palou's mistake and sneak by for a win. That is his 21st consecutive season where he has won a race in IndyCar and his 23rd season winning an IndyCar overall. So he had some years at the start of his career where he won, had a year off, won, had a year off, and then from that point, we've been cooking ever since.
Honda has won all races and engine manufacturer.
Perfect 10.
Which is classic that they have their foot out the door yet again and they're threatening to leave but they want more engine suppliers. But then they're like, now. Oh, whatever.
It's gonna be funny when they win every race this season and they're still like, we're out.
Sad.
Kudos to Kiffin Simpson as well. Chip Ganassi's 3rd driver. He did pretty decent, qualified well, raced up front until he stalled in pit road and got a drive-through penalty for literally running over Rinus VK's right rear tire changer and still finished 10th. So he said that he's really been trying his best, working really hard, making sure that he's not sucking, and it seems to be paying off for him. Shout out to Rinus VK's right rear tire changer. I hope he's okay. He definitely got a foot smushed though.
Yeah, that was a close call. And Leaf would like to shout out Rinus from 26th to 9th, Mike Goat.
Shout out Reby VB.
I do have a grievance to air, and I
Yes.
don't know if I'm just like hyper vigilant and aware of this, or it's truly happening. I don't need to be looking at Santino Ferrucci fighting with David Malukas at P21 when there's substantially other things to be looking at.
Yeah.
And we were staring at Santino for a while. And I understand that he then also ran off Connor Daly. And I get that he hates him so much and ruined his own race in the consequence. But I'm also then staring at him deal with the consequences of his actions. And I was like, I don't need to be staring at him for so long. Like, what? He's not giving me anything interesting. There's nothing happening here.
Yeah. I don't quite get it. I don't quite understand it.
I think we can all put together what's happening, but I'm just like, why?
Why is IndyCar trying to make Santino Ferrucci happen? Santino Ferrucci is never gonna happen.
Kid's a weapon. Dude, I just can't believe he just shunted, like, Bell trying to defend him. What, was he? I didn't have... So, funny enough, I texted Elizabeth this. I was watching something else while I had IndyCar on. What was I watching? I think I was rewatching... Oh,
you probably had NASCAR on.
No, what I was watching... No, NASCAR was on after. What I was watching was... We missed the Tour de France, so we played it from the beginning, and we had it on our other TV because we're... anyway, so yeah, we had the Tour on, and I had IndyCar muted, and it was the best way to watch IndyCar. I'm going to be 100% honest. I was in the Discord at the same time, and I was like, hey, what happened here? And someone would tell me, I'd be like, cool, I know now. It was perfect. I did not need any of the yapping that was happening. But I was, at one point, we're watching the Tour, and I was like, why are we still watching Ferrucci? He's at P21. I was like, why is he on the TV so long? And then I asked the Discord, and they're like, yeah, he had that thing happen, but like we just been staring at him. And I was like, oh, okay. Nothing else has happened. He hasn't moved up. Nothing's really schmoving here for him.
Yeah. I think Townsend Bell, if I recall correctly, is his management group is in charge of Santino Ferrucci.
Yeah, but is he also in charge of the Fox broadcast all of a sudden too? Is he sneaking in like $100 bills to the camera guy? And he's like, if you,
You get a bonus every time you show Santino.
I just like don't understand why this happened. And I just want it to stop. I don't. Apparently he's a prodigy for IndyCar since he started racing. It's been years, and I'm still waiting to see that happen. But I understand he's decent at ovals. Just stop trying to push him all the time. I just let it happen. How did I explain this? I think we can let it happen naturally.
Yeah, we don't have to force this narrative on people because
Right.
the thing that makes it frustrating is when the narrative is not happening, and it's like, oh, Santino, he's a great driver, and then he's not great driving. Like, I don't. If he was great driving, by all means, show him on my television. Let's discuss it. But if he's just pushing people off the track down in 21st, like I really don't care.
Yeah, agreed. I like that whole beer thing. Like, I know, so, by the way, I obviously strongly dislike Sino Ferrucci, probably will for a very long time. And they're like, oh, he's changed. I'm like, fucking has he? He's every single
Yeah.
race weekend. He's still running people off the road, doing dumbass shit. And then everyone's like, oh, we love him because of the beer thing. And I was like, that happened naturally, right? I'm not saying that I am a fan of and I agree any of the stuff that he's done. But that happened naturally where people found that and don't know his history. And they're like, oh, yeah, great guy. Seems chill. And I was like, cool. Okay. That happened. He did it. Townsend Bell didn't tell someone to throw a beer at him. They didn't tell him to do that. Fine.
Yeah.
And then they kept forcing it. They're like, oh, we need to capitalize on this. And I was like, damn, dude, we know what you're doing. Please stop.
It's so painfully obvious.
This is so please leave. This is not going to happen. Also, Connor Daly calling him out is incredible.
Yeah.
I
Very
love the hate
funny.
cauldron. Bring that back.
Not the hate cauldron. Oh. Also of note, Penske fucking sucked again this weekend. Like, just so bad. Newgarden knocked down the first corner. Power knocked out. McLaughlin finished 23rd. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking maybe 6 feet ain't so far down. Cause what the fuck? Like, I am a Penske stan, and they have fallen to pieces this season, and it is so sad.
Yeah. I think chat mentioned in the Discord that Newgarden has been this fucked since his like rookie season. He's just not having a good year, dude, and it's really unfortunate. Because you have these glimpses of like, yeah, and it's like, oh no.
It's like, oh, maybe they're pulling themselves out of this hole, and then you spend the rest of the race watching between your fingers, going, oh no,
Yeah.
no, not again.
Yeah, really unfortunate. There's nothing they can really do. We do have a lot of IndyCar races. How many do we have? We have 5 and 4 weeks.
5 and 4 weekends.
That's what it is. Okay.
So, yeah, we had, I think last weekend was part of this sweep.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mid-Ohio, next weekend, we have the doubleheader at Iowa. And then after that, we go to, oh, yeah, from Iowa to Toronto. And then from Toronto directly to California for Laguna Seca. So we're just,
Wow, we're
just
leaving the
cooking.
Midwest.
We're leaving the Midwest. We're going international, and then we're hitting the West Coast.
Who
We
knew
are
that?
cultured.
Who knew that IndyCar could do that? Who knew that we could leave the Ohio, Indiana, all that stuff?
Toronto is great. If anyone of you is going to Toronto, there is a wine bar there that I believe still exists called Ascari. So it is modeled after Alberto Ascari, full race car theme, lots of old photos on the wall. If you go to Toronto, go to there. Support local Ascari wine bars in Toronto.
Speaking of wine country, we also have NASCAR at Sonoma.
Yes, NASCAR at. I love that they go from Chicago to Sonoma. I just I don't quite understand the logic. It seems like a really long way to go for
What's
road.
after Sonoma?
Who the hell knows?
I
None of my business.
I was like, does it make sense for them to go to Sonoma? Dover. Nope.
Yeah. 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 It's weird, but I am excited for two road/street courses back to back. I hope SVG wins it again. Me and Chris were talking about this yesterday, and he said that I should write an article about how there are like multiple paths to the Cup Championship now, where like a guy like SVG could theoretically just win road and street courses and
Yeah.
make it into the final four if he is able to like keep his shit together just enough in the round of 16, which is fun to think about. I love it. I think we absolutely should. We should have multiple paths to a NASCAR championship.
I made this video a year ago or so, and I said, "What's the hardest championship to win?" And I was like, "No, it's NASCAR, just based off the system." People were like, "That doesn't count."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, it does.
It does.
It
Why
100%
doesn't
counts."
it count?
Yeah, if we're talking about genuinely just the hardest to win of rules and skill set, I'm going by any professional sports. I'm going. I'm going NASCAR. That shit's difficult. NBA,
Yeah.
you gotta fight the refs sometimes. Like not like literally fight them. Like deal with them. WNBA too. We all have our thoughts about the last championship, and Liberty won fair and square. By the way, I'd like to denote that everyone complains about the refs when it's not in their favor, but when it is in their favor, no one says shit. Fuck you, Minnesota. Anyway, yeah, I think NASCAR by far, exactly to Chap's point, where you can just win these couple courses because if you win, you're in usually, and I highly doubt there's gonna be 16 different winners, and then yeah, if you make it on by points and stuff like that, or happen to get a win,
Yeah.
Final Four, baby.
Yeah. Hits that roval, moves him into the final four. Like that's good.
And then if someone smacks out your competition by accident, not on purpose, obviously, because that's not allowed, because you can't control much and I understand like you can get injured in the NBA or football and stuff like that, but usually in NASCAR, there's so much out of your control. Some dipshit just loses it.
Someone Carson Hocevar themselves.
Hits the inside of turn 9 and goes sideways in the entry of turn 10. And you're like, well, I guess I'm stuck here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And also, Formula One taking a little break. We mentioned this before. They're off until the 27th, I think, is the Grand Prix Belgium. Yeah, 27th of the month. So we got a ways to go before that happened. Thank God I needed a little break.
Yeah, I don't know if I wish we kind of had a quadruple weekend and like then we had a huge break as opposed to like a break, 2, and then another break. Like I'm one of those persons who like gets it over with.
I'm completely with you on that front. Because we have another one, I think in September, we have another like 2 or 3 week break where I was like, why do we just have this random break in the middle of nowhere that, like, I don't know, connect it to something or like at least spread out the break? Like, we have to have summer shutdown. Do we need to have a 3 week break right now when you could have a race in the middle of this break and not make people fly from one race to the next race to the next race directly multiple times a year? That would be nice.
Yeah.
Too much to ask.
Too much to ask. My continued hot take is that Sonoma should have gotten Fontana's slot instead of Atlanta. Sonoma would be green, and they would never do this because the risk of rain would kill in-person attendance.
I wish we could see Sonoma green. I didn't realize it gets green there because every racing series always races there when it looks like it's torched.
I'm trying to think. In March, when GT World Challenge gets there, it's pretty nice.
I was gonna say I think like GT World Challenge is like the only racing series that races at a reasonable time of year.
Someone says they get to go to Mexico, then Pocono. So we're talking about Chicago to Sonoma.
Mexico, Pocono,
And then
also insane.
Michigan, Mexico, was it the order? Something like that?
Yeah.
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 So, man, I love Chicago. What a great race.
Bring it back.
I like when a street course is good. Right? F1 has a lot of street courses that are like,
Yeah.
like these shouldn't
F1
be
has a lot of street
courses.
courses that I wish they just didn't exist.
Yeah. And we know why
Chicago's
they
a
do.
good one.
Chicago's a great one. And I'm tempted to know where they would race in San Diego or like how they would do that.
Yeah. That feels like it would be more of a problem than Chicago, logistically.
Oh my gosh, they did so much good media stuff for Chicago too. They had the show The Bear. Oh, I need to ask you a question. Do you watch The Bear?
Yes.
I'm not going to spoil it.
I have not.
Actually, none of this is going to spoil it for you. By the way, if you do watch The Bear, none of this is going to be spoiled. This is just, I'm not even going to say who's asking what in this thing. But for the NASCAR stuff, before Chicago, they had like Ryan Blaney, Stenhouse, and I think Dylan do like the bear thing with the beef sandwiches and whatever. And I thought that was
that's
really
fun.
cute. And then 2, in the actual Bear, and I don't know if this is like a reference to something or whatnot, one of the characters is wearing a checkered flag pin, and another character goes,
Cute.
like you race. And they go, well, sometimes, but this is from Indianapolis. This is from Detroit, 1992. It's my father's. And it's like, oh, your dad a racer? She said, no. And he goes, gotcha. And I don't know if that's like a thing that I should know about. What, like, I don't, that was like a weird interaction. Maybe I'll just send you the clip to get more context of it.
Yeah.
But then they start talking about something else. And I was like, that's like a weird, why is
a
your
little
father
non sequitur?
Yeah, this is like, that's fun. And I was excited, but I was like, what does this have to do with your dad not being a racer? And then you're like, oh, get it. Like, I don't get that. Maybe I'll record it for you.
Okay. Good to know.
Next broadcast is going to look like GeoGuessr trying to design a track in San Diego.
That's fun. I'm going to make the most inconvenient track that ever exists.
I still think we need a dirt track on the calendar for Cup.
I agree. I don't think we need more than one, but I would like there to be one.
Mm-hmm. I'd like there to be at least one. NASCAR, doubleheader, IndyCar, MotoGP weekend, yes, and also WEC, Sao Paulo, 6 hours, baby.
Sao Paulo.
HCats, I was trying to avoid spoilers, hence I wasn't giving character names. I was being very generic. Yeah, but then she said no as to why it was like that her father's a driver, and then he's like, okay. And I was like, oh, this is the end of the conversation. Like, we're talking about nothing else about this. So, WEC. Yeah, we got WEC.
WEC.
I think I'm doing something with Cadillac again. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you guys, but they didn't make me sign anything, so I'm just going to tell you now. Go on the Cadillac YouTube page, probably, most likely, like 50% chance. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Elizabeth, anything else for you this weekend coming out? What people should know about? Articles, where to find them?
This week, I am a day delayed on releasing a new Deadly Passions, Terrible Joys episode. I was supposed to record it last week after we did the show, and then I had to go back to work, so I didn't have time. I'm going to record it tonight, edit it tonight, share it tonight, so it'll be up for you to listen to in the morning. It is about the weird way that the Nazi Germany government used motorsport to effectively rearm its military program, and create a whole thing. So it's gonna be good. It's a two-parter. So this is the first of the second one. And that's it for me. I got 2 days off, so I'm not thinking thoughts anymore. I'm good.
The FIA official just posted, there's no place for online abuse in the sport. At Silverstone, over 50 Formula 2 and Formula 3 drivers joined a workshop to talk openly about the impact of online abuse and how to recognize and report and respond. I think, here's my hot take. I think we should just fucking be rude as shit back, because that's worked out for me perfectly, and it's actually pretty cathartic. Someone's like, why is everyone so soft about talking about Nico Hulkenberg, blah, blah, blah. And like, he's doing nothing. It's not a big deal. Whoop-de-doo. And then I wrote back, did your kids not text you this weekend? I just think we should be rude as shit back to people who are rude as shit back to us. Or just block them.
That's funny.
It's so funny. I think I told you this story. I don't know if others in the chat have heard this. Someone was rude as shit to me. And I was so fucking rude back. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you would read this. And then deleted everything.
I think that's always the funniest. Like, I've gotten DMs from people before where they send a DM and I respond like with a thumbs up. I'm like, I hope that made you feel better. And they're like, oh, I didn't realize you would look at this. Bitch, you are messaging me.
Oh, somebody messaged me on TikTok.
What do you think I'm doing? I don't have a handler. Do I look like I can afford one? Jesus.
Yeah, someone messaged me on whatever, because I said something about Max that they didn't like, and they're like, you're just backstagers, they're such fucking bitches. And I was like, oh, I'm sure Max is going to add you to his posse because you just stood up for him in my fucking TikTok DMs. He goes like, oh, I'm so sorry, I was just mad, and I just DM'd you. I was like, control your fucking emotions, dude. Yeah. It's not my problem. Dude, 100%. Give me, FYI, if you're listening, probably not. Let me do the workshop. 100%. I'm like, look, here's a rude comment. This is how I would respond to it as a New Yorker with Eastern European parents who has a lot of pent-up rage.
Fucking combat training workshop. Here's how we're going to war in the comments.
All right. So you look into their profile. Oh, this is my favorite. You look into their profile and you find something. Their kids. I go so fucking low. I will go to hell to fucking make you cry. I do not care. Nothing is off the table. I'll find you a picture of you in the hospital. I'll find oh my gosh. Someone was on Pikes Peak commented about like me being because I said Pikes Peak was one of the hardest things I did in my career. He's like, career, you're just an influencer. And I was like, yeah, I've like started that such, but I believe I've developed myself into broadcasting. I'm trying to work on it. I'm not saying I've developed myself. Sorry, I have so much developing to do into something. And they were still pretty rude. And even our producer from Pikes Peak came in and he's like, look, I usually don't feed the trolls, but like, if you're serious about this conversation, like explained it. And like Ash was very kindly mentioned that I was doing a great job and all this other stuff. And it's like, yeah, you're still an influencer. When you Google someone's username, their comment came up and he was looking at it. This user commented on an influencer's page for IVF treatments. And look, I understand it's a sensitive subject, but don't fucking come to me and be like, you're just an influencer in motorsports. We need to take IVF influencer advice, okay? Fuck you. So I was like, oh, but your IVF treatment advice from an influencer is okay, but my motorsports isn't? Comments deleted. Fuck you. I don't care. Funny. I don't care. Do not do that to me. I will be so mean. I will find you. I found someone's wife and I was like, oh, would so-and-so like that you're doing this to a woman in motorsports? And they're like, I can't believe you would do that. I was, me? You came here first.
Yeah, get your ass out of here. Come on.
Nah, man, I have time. And they're like, I can't believe you're still talking to me. I was like, one, great engagement. If there's a back and forth comment, by the way, the video goes crazy because some Instagram's like, wow, people keep coming back to talk to you. This is great. They don't know what they're saying. And they're like,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So I'm like, yeah, let's go back and forth. I got all day, baby. I'm fucking ready to go. I live for this. I love confrontation online.
I
thrive. You're making me so much stronger. Thank you so much. I cannot. Bullying does work when done right. It doesn't have to be done right. You just have to be a worse person, and I do not care. What do I have to lose? What are you going to do? Cancel me on motorsports? Fine. Then I'll just keep working in corporate America. Like, I don't, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be like racist, sexist. That's too far, guys. Too far. We're not doing that kind of stuff. Time down. But we will be rude. Terribly mean. Yeah. Everyone's lucky that I choose to be good every day. I choose to be a nice person.
If you were a bad person, the world would be a worse place.
Yeah, no COD words. That's why Kevin Durant has burners. 100%. Dude, it's someone. Do you know Kevin Durant? Are you familiar with his like Twitter presence?
I am familiar with his clapbacks.
Yeah, and someone recently said that like he should spend less time online clapping back. And Kevin Durant was basically like, "Shut the fuck up! Like I can do what I want, and like you're just giving me more attention or more eyeballs or whatever." I was like, "Yeah, this is fantastic."
Yeah.
I agree.
If you're gonna say something to me, you better expect that I can say something back. It's only fair.
Yeah, this is where I find it interesting when people get. I go back and forth, right? Because I think there's a line, right? If I'm not tagging you. So I don't look out for people who make fun of me. Like I don't search my name and like, first of all, I do search my name, but I don't engage because you didn't tag me. I was just being a weirdo. I was just being a creepy person and I'm curious. But if you are in my comment section on my page and you say something rude, then it is fair game. 100%. Yes. If you said something separately on like a Twitter account and you didn't tag me and you were like AshVandelay sex, blah, 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 like it's your page, it's your prerogative. I'm not name searching, starting a fight.
Think your thoughts.
Think your thoughts. And I think there's a difference when IndyCar drivers like search their name and then engage as opposed to like me tagging someone and being like, I hate you and then coming in. Then you're calling for me if you're like tagging me in something. If you're just discussing something separately. Not that people crazily do it. But if you're in my comment section, by the way, that's a very huge caveat, then I will be rude as shit.
Yeah. I think one of the not really funny, but like one of the most surreal things that ever happened to me was someone made an entire call out Instagram post about how I was racist because I wrote a whole article about how Martin Brundle should leave Cara Delevingne alone. And like she doesn't owe him an interview. And they were like, where was this energy with Megan Thee Stallion? And like this whole like paragraphs. Mm-hmm. So I responded to it with a link to the story that I wrote about Martin Brundle talking to Megan Thee Stallion and how she doesn't owe him anything. The exact same thing. And then they wanted to fight with me about it. And they were like, well, that doesn't mean anything. That was years ago. And I was like, it was when it happened. It was when it happened. I wrote about this the week it happened. What are you talking about? And then they finally deleted their profile. I was like, bro, what are we doing? You tagged me in this. Like, tagged me in this. Looking for a fight. You went to all this effort and didn't even Google Elizabeth Blackstock, Megan Thee Stallion and see if I had perhaps written something.
No. That's too much work. Yeah, there's a difference, right? When there's ones where like I will fight with someone, But like
Yeah.
if they're fucking stupid, it's not worth my like if it's
Yeah.
not fun, I'm like a cat playing with its food. If it's just like stupid and dead and just like has no thoughts, it's not fun. But if you're like fighting back and alive and like wiggling on the floor a little bit, yeah, I'm still gonna like pat at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you like
Yeah.
literally have no brain cells and like you cannot like someone called me like a something whatever and I was like, did you look at my profile? He's like, I don't have to look at your profile. And I was like, literally the first video pinned is me talking to Max Verstappen about sports car racing. Like,
Yeah.
please, I just like cannot. Please hush. It is absolutely wild. So
Yeah.
but FIA, just let people fight back. Let me do it. People should let me present more. There is an organization about in North America that has to do with women that has let me present and has since not that they're mad at me, but have since not let me present. I might have cursed a little, not a lot, maybe once or twice, and they weren't fans of that. I
That's so
believe
funny.
everyone was just saying the same shit. I hate when we're taking me and they're like, "We love how innovative you are and different." I'm like, "Oh, thanks so much." And then they put me in a social media workshop, and everyone's like, "Make sure like your stuff is nice." And I was like, "No, be yourself. Fuck that." I don't think they
Yeah.
like that. Long presentation short. I was like, "Yeah, you got to show personality, guys. Like, what do we talk? I guess we can ass kiss, but like, why don't we? I don't know."
You can still be a person and ass kiss.
Yeah, I don't know how a motorsport organization is upset about cursing.
I mean,
I've been
clearly
on
we've
pit
seen the way
road.
that the FIA has bent over backwards to complain about this. I can't say that I'm totally
I've been in the
shocked.
garages when shit goes down. Please,
Yeah.
cursing's the least
But
of your worries.
think of the children.
That are not there. Yeah, think of the children. The Reb Maisel of Motorsport social media clapbacks is actually really nice. I appreciate that. No, you just have to be mean. You just go on their profile. You find something personal to them. Let me teach these drivers. I'll come with examples.
We're doing it live. Hand me your phone. Show me a hate comment.
There's one from a YouTube video that people like using a lot, right? And it's just like, oh god, there's like a bunch, right? I think also Kyle Prude does a bunch of good ones. Telling guys that you love their pixie cut or something like that, or like all this like small stuff, or like, is the wind blowing in your house? Where's your hairline going back there? Like really dumb shit that like really gets them, and then they get.
I like the Kyle Prude's comments. They get me every time.
They're so good. If I can
File
go,
those away.
yeah, is that a Nolan Siegel reference or independent hate? There are great people in the FIA. There's also just some leadership that I'm sure like a lot of organizations do, right? Some people who work there.
Yeah.
Who
I mean,
do good work.
There are just plenty of people out in the world who still think that saying a swear word is probably the worst thing a person can do and is equivalent to committing a hate crime.
I do have to stop myself sometimes from seeing really dumbass takes. Oh, man, I should be meaner. Life would be so much easier.
I mean, sometimes if you're mean, you get Paul Tracy fired from NBC, so.
You see Chase Elliott? Don't be like him. You see Kostin Harsavar? Don't be like that. Be like Blaney. Blaney's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
I need him online all the time.
Get him on the show.
Get him on the show. I wish people like to be on our show or wanted to be on our show. I feel like I guess I don't know. How do we do that? Do we just ask and hope they say yes?
Yeah, you just gotta ask.
I hate having empathy sometimes. Dude, honestly.
Girl, same.
Same. Preach.
It's fucked up.
The minute I don't have empathy or anxiety, it's over for all of you bitches. Watch out. All right,
That
Chet.
critical 1-2 punch. Empathy and anxiety.
I don't give a shit what people think. All right, there's the link to all of Elizabeth's stuff, her link tree. So please, and when you click on our articles, make sure you keep them up, even though you read fast, because that's what counts. In addition to the clicks, is the keeping up the article, the time spent on said article page. So, we gotta get Pato for a follow-up interview. I was like, dog, you in your car? What are you doing?
So him on his little swing set when we logged in. So funny.
Man, he's just like us.
He is just like me for real.
And then we can see his renovated house, like a before and after.
Yeah. Show us what's up.
Show us what's up. Chat, have a great rest of your week. Remember, go touch grass, walk outside, protect our national and state parks, take your meds, drink some water, support local, including racetracks.
Yes. If you are able and interested, donate to the Central Texas Flood Recovery. It has been bad here. Lots of folks still missing, lots of folks dead. So anything to help.
Take care of your communities.
Yes.
I think the biggest piece of advice I saw from a guy named Dr. Len is just take care of the community like you would want everything else to be taken care of. So I've been going on walks, just picking up trash that I see in like little plastic baggies, just saying hello to people, even though people aren't used to like a wave. You know, just create the community you want to be a part of. And that
I
helps a
wave
lot.
to everyone that I see when I'm driving in my little subdivision. I call it like the big truck wave because usually it's a guy in a big truck. And when I was driving our Suburban, they would always wave because it's like, oh, big truck fella. But now I'm like in my little Mazda, like, hi, big trucks. Hi.
All right, chat. We will see you some other time. Just
Adios.
don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You know what I'm saying? Bye, chat. I don't feel like finding music. I'm a little
Bye.
lazy. Bye, everyone.
I'll just beatbox on the way out.
My name is Elizabeth. My friends call me G. One writer homie. I may be as cool as a penguin in a tuxedo. So hook me up with some. What rhymes with tuxedo? Doritos.
Ooh,
Hope you like Doritos.
the savory snack of Formula One.
Oh my